Daniel woke at 3 in the morning to find the woman in seat 12B staring directly at him. Not the polite glance of a fellow passenger, not the accidental eye contact in a cramped cabin, but a steady, deliberate gaze that didn't break even when he caught her. She smiled, slow and knowing, then closed her eyes as if nothing had happened. The cabin was dark, filled with the hum of engines and the soft breathing of sleeping passengers. But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that had lived in his bones for 2 years now, the same instinct that whispered something was wrong the night his wife didn't come home. He shifted in his seat, felt the weight of his bag beneath him. Inside was something his colleague, David, had pressed into his hands at the airport, urgent and pale. "Keep this safe, don't open it. I'll explain when you land." Now Daniel was locked in a metal tube at 30,000 feet, with a woman who watched him like she knew exactly what he was carrying. 3 hours until Boston. 3 hours wondering if the stranger beside him was a real threat, or if he was just worrying too much. The red-eye from Seattle to Boston was never Daniel's idea of a good time, but it was the only flight that would get him home before Harper's school play on Friday morning. His 6-year-old daughter was playing a tree in the autumn festival production, and she'd fallen asleep before takeoff, exhausted from 3 days at his company's conference. Daniel had brought her along because his mother was sick and couldn't watch her, and because Harper had begged to see the Space Needle. The woman in seat 12B had boarded late, sliding into her spot just as the flight attendants were doing their final checks. Mid-30s, brown hair in a neat ponytail, navy blazer over a white shirt. Normal. Forgettable. Except now, 3 hours into the flight, Daniel was certain there was nothing normal about her at all. She never actually turned a page in her book, just stared at the same spot for minutes at a time. She declined everything the flight attendant offered with a quick shake of her head, never looking up. She wasn't working or sleeping. She was waiting. Daniel had tried to tell himself he was being paranoid. 2 years of living with the certainty that Emily's death wasn't the accident everyone said it was had turned him into someone who saw shadows everywhere. The police had closed the case within a week. Single-car collision on a rainy night. No witnesses. No evidence of foul play. Just terrible luck. But Emily had been acting strange in the weeks before she died. Distracted. Worried. Locking her office door at home for the first time ever. After she died, her laptop was missing. Her office cleared out completely. Her workplace cited security protocols. Daniel had let it drop because he had a daughter to raise, and grief that felt like drowning. But he never stopped wondering. Now, sitting with a woman who watched him back, all those old instincts were screaming. When David Thompson had found him at the Seattle airport 3 hours ago, pale and sweating, Daniel had known immediately that something was wrong. David worked in network security in the same building, different department. They weren't close friends, but they'd grab coffee occasionally. The David who'd cornered him near the departure gate wasn't normal. His eyes kept darting around, and when he spoke, his voice was low and urgent. "I need you to do me a favor. Don't ask questions, just take this." He'd pressed a small thumb drive into Daniel's palm. "Keep it safe. Don't open it. Don't tell anyone you have it. I'll meet you at the Boston airport when you land, and I'll explain everything." Daniel had stared at the drive, then at David. "What is this?" "I can't tell you here. Just, please, Dan. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." David's hand was shaking. "I have to go. Don't miss your flight." And then he was gone. Daniel had stood there, considering throwing it away, finding David and giving it back, missing his flight entirely. But Harper was waiting at the gate. So he'd slipped the drive into his laptop bag, zipped it shut, and tried to forget about it. That had been 3 hours ago. Now, every time he thought about that small piece of plastic and metal, his heart rate kicked up. What was on it? Why had David been so frightened? And why did he feel that the woman in seat 12B knew exactly what was in his bag? The first hour passed in strange stalemate. Daniel kept his awareness tuned entirely to the woman beside him. Every shift of fabric, every small movement, he cataloged them all. She maintained her pretense of sleep with remarkable consistency, but there were tells. The way her shoulders tensed when the flight attendant passed, the way her breathing would pause when Daniel moved. Harper woke once, asking for water in a small voice. Daniel helped her drink and watched as she drifted back to sleep. The woman in 12B didn't react, didn't open her eyes, but Daniel saw the slight tilt of her head. She was listening. When Harper was settled, Daniel made a decision. He couldn't sit here for 2 more hours doing nothing. He pulled out his laptop. The woman's eyes opened, not dramatically, just a slow flutter as if waking from a light doze. She glanced at him, offered a small, sleepy smile, then looked away, reaching for her book. But Daniel had seen the sharpness in her eyes before she'd schooled her expression. She'd been waiting for him to do exactly this. His finger hovered over the USB port. The thumb drive was in his bag, just inches away. But some instinct whispered that once he looked, there would be no going back. Instead, he opened a browser and searched David's name. Nothing useful, just his LinkedIn profile and old company photos. He tried variations. Nothing. Either David was remarkably clean, or whatever he was involved in hadn't gone public yet. The woman beside him turned a page. The movement was smooth, perfectly timed. Daniel glanced over and caught the title. The Art of Strategic Thinking. Could have been genuine, could have been a prop. Daniel closed the laptop and put it away. The woman's shoulders relaxed slightly. She'd been tense, waiting to see what he'd do. Another confirmation that his instincts weren't wrong. His phone buzzed, a notification that made his blood run cold. An email from David, sent hours ago but just now downloading. The subject line was empty. The message contained just 4 words. Don't trust anyone. Run. His hands went numb. The email had been sent at 7:45 p.m., right around when David should have been boarding his own flight. But David had never shown up at the gate. Daniel forwarded the email to his personal account, then deleted it and cleared the trash. Don't trust anyone. Run. What had David stumbled into? His mind went to dark places. David worked in network security for a defense contractor, one of those companies that did government work under layers of clearance and NDAs. If he'd found something he wasn't supposed to see, the people looking for him wouldn't be regular cops. They'd be federal agents. Or worse. Harper stirred, and Daniel realized his whole body had gone rigid. He forced himself to relax. His daughter needed him present. The woman shifted in her seat, and in the motion, Daniel caught a glimpse of something at her ankle, a slight bulge beneath her slacks, exactly where someone might wear an ankle holster. His mouth went dry. The plane hit turbulence, nothing serious, just enough to make the cabin sway. And in that moment of movement, the woman opened her eyes fully and looked directly at Daniel. "Trouble sleeping?" she asked, her voice soft and unremarkable. Daniel's throat was tight. "Just thinking about work." She nodded sympathetically. "I know the feeling." "Business trip? Conference? You?" "Same." She paused. "What field are you in?" "Software, nothing exciting." "I'm in consulting," she said. "Also nothing exciting." The lie was delivered smoothly. Or maybe it wasn't a lie. Maybe she consulted for agencies that didn't officially exist. Daniel didn't know which possibility frightened him more. "How much longer until landing?" she asked. "About 2 hours. Feels longer, doesn't it? These overnight flights." She settled back, eyes drifting closed. "Well, pleasant dreams if you manage to get any sleep." The exchange had lasted less than 30 seconds, but Daniel felt interrogated. She'd been fishing for information, confirming details. If he hadn't already been suspicious, he might have found her perfectly pleasant. But he was suspicious. And now he was certain. The woman in seat 12B wasn't just watching him. She was waiting for him to make a mistake. Daniel looked down at Harper, still sleeping peacefully, and made a silent promise. Whatever happened, his daughter wouldn't get caught in the middle of this. The plane flew on through the darkness, carrying them toward whatever waited in Boston. Daniel closed his eyes, not to sleep, but to think. David's message echoed in his mind. Don't trust anyone. Run. But he couldn't run. Not until he understood what he was running from. His phone buzzed again, another email, and his heart stopped when he saw the sender. Emily. That was impossible. Emily had been dead for 2 years. Her email account had been closed, but there it was. Emily Reed. Subject line blank. Timestamp showing it had been sent just 10 minutes ago. His hands shook as he opened it. Just a string of numbers and letters that looked like an encryption key. 792, K-Botan Mc3, 28 Totod. Below it, a single line. You'll know when you need this. Trust yourself. Daniel stared at the screen. This couldn't be from Emily. Someone must have hacked her old account. But why? Unless Emily had set this up before she died. A dead man's switch, triggered by some condition. Had she known she was in danger? Had she left him something, and this was how he was supposed to access it? The thumb drive. It had to be related. Maybe David hadn't grabbed random files. Maybe he'd been looking for something specific, something connected to Emily. Maybe her death and whatever David discovered were linked. Daniel forwarded the email to himself, deleted it, and cleared the trash. 2 warnings now. David telling him to run. Emily, or someone using her name, giving him what looked like a key. The plane tilted as it banked for final approach. They were landing. Whatever came next, there was no avoiding it now. As they taxied toward the gate, the woman in seat 12B stood smoothly, retrieved her carry-on, and stepped into the aisle. She didn't look back at Daniel. Just another passenger eager to deplane, but she positioned herself 2 rows ahead, where she'd have a clear view of him as they filed off. "Come on, sweetheart," Daniel said, helping Harper gather her things. "Let's go home." They joined the shuffle toward the exit. Daniel scanned the gate area for David's familiar face, but the crowd was just strangers. No one he recognized. The woman from 12B melted into the crowd ahead, moving with practiced efficiency. Daniel watched her go, relief and apprehension mixing in his gut. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe. His phone rang. David's number. Daniel stopped dead, pulled Harper to the side and answered. "David? Where are you? What's going on?" "Dan." David's voice was rough, strained. "Listen carefully. I don't have much time. The drive I gave you. Don't give it to anyone. Not police, not FBI, nobody. There's a lawyer, Robert Fisher, office in downtown Boston. His number's in my desk at work. Get the drive to him. He'll know what to do." "David, what is this? What's on the drive?" "Evidence. Proof that Emily didn't die in an accident. Proof that the company we work for has been selling weapons technology to countries they're not supposed to and covering up anyone who finds out. Your wife found out, Dan. She was about to blow the whistle when they killed her." The world stopped. Every sound, every movement crystallized around those words. They killed her. Emily didn't die in an accident. She was murdered. "How do you know this?" Daniel's voice came out strangled. "Because I found her files. She'd been investigating for months, collecting evidence. When she died, they scrubbed everything. But she was smarter than they thought. She encrypted backups, hid them where only someone with her access codes could find them. I found them last week. I copied everything. And now they know I have it." "Who knows?" "Who are they? Corporate security, maybe government. They've been following me, Dan. They're at my apartment right now. I'm in a hotel. But they'll find me eventually. That's why I needed you to carry it. They don't know about you yet. Get the drive to Fisher. He'll make sure it goes public, make sure Emily didn't die for nothing. Harper tugged his hand. Daddy, everyone's looking at us. He glanced up, realized they were blocking the jetway. Hold on, he said into the phone, and started moving. Dan, are you listening? David's voice was urgent. You can't trust anyone official. They've got people everywhere. Just get to Fisher and... The call cut off. Not like David hung up, but like someone ended it for him. Daniel tried calling back, straight to voicemail. Daddy, you're scaring me. He looked down at Harper. Saw the fear in her eyes. I know, baby. I'm sorry. Everything's going to be fine. We just need to... A hand touched his arm. Daniel spun, heart hammering, and found himself face to face with the woman from seat 12B. Mr. Reed, she said quietly, I think we need to talk. His first instinct was to run, but there was something in the woman's eyes. Not threat, not aggression. Urgency. And beneath that, something that might have been sympathy. Who are you? He demanded. She glanced at the passengers streaming past, then back to him. My name is Victoria Hayes. I'm with the FBI, and I'm here because David Thompson contacted us 3 days ago, claiming he had evidence of illegal arms sales and corporate murder. We've been watching him, trying to verify his claims before he got himself killed. She paused. We were too late. His body was found in his hotel room 20 minutes ago. The terminal tilted. David was dead. David, who'd been shaking with fear just hours ago. Dead. That's not... He just called me. Just now. Victoria's face went pale. He called you? When? 30 seconds ago. He told me to get the drive to a lawyer named Robert Fisher. And did he say anything else? Daniel's mind was racing. David dead. Emily murdered. A thumb drive full of evidence. An FBI agent who'd been sitting next to him for 5 hours. Why should I trust you? He asked. David said don't trust anyone official, that they've got people everywhere. Victoria stepped closer, lowering her voice. Because if I wanted to take that drive from you, I could have done it on the plane, because I've been protecting you since Seattle, making sure no one else got to you first. And because your daughter is standing right there looking terrified, and you need to get her somewhere safe before the people who killed David figure out you have what they're looking for. She was right about Harper. His daughter was pressed against his leg, her hand clutching his with pure fear. Whatever was happening, he couldn't do it here with Harper watching. What do you want me to do? He asked. Come with me. We have a secure location where we can debrief you and examine the drive. We'll make sure you and your daughter are protected. And then what? Then we find out who killed Emily Reed and David Thompson, and we make sure they face justice. Daniel looked into Victoria Hayes' eyes, trying to read the truth. She could be exactly what she claimed, an FBI agent trying to help. Or she could be one of the people David warned him about. He had no way of knowing for sure, but Harper was scared, and David was dead. And Emily had been dead for 2 years because she'd tried to expose these same people. I want to see your credentials, he said. Real credentials, not just a badge. Victoria nodded and pulled out her phone, showing him an official FBI identification app with her photo, badge number, and verification code. Then she showed him another message, from David, sent 2 days ago. Agent Hayes, I have information about the Emily Reed case. I think I know who killed her and why. Can we meet? Emily's name, right there. David had gone to the FBI specifically about Emily. That meant Victoria was telling the truth, or at least part of it. Okay, Daniel said. We'll come with you. But Harper stays with me. She doesn't leave my sight. I wouldn't have it any other way. The safe house was a 2-story colonial in Brookline, with green shutters and flower boxes. Not what Daniel expected. It looked like someone's grandmother lived there. Inside matched the outside. Comfortable, lived in, ordinary. A floral sofa, family photos on the mantel, a kitchen with cheerful yellow curtains. Harper looked around with curiosity, some of her fear fading. "There's food in the fridge," Victoria said. "Bathroom's upstairs. Make yourselves comfortable. I need to make some calls. Then we'll talk about that drive." She disappeared into the office, and Daniel heard her voice through the wall, speaking in urgent tones. He stood in the living room, still holding his bag, trying to convince himself this wasn't a mistake. "Daddy, I'm really hungry," Harper said. "Right." His daughter needed breakfast. Daniel forced himself into parent mode and took Harper to the kitchen. The fridge was stocked. He made scrambled eggs and toast while Harper sat at the table, swinging her legs. "Why did that lady say we need to be safe? Are we in danger?" "No, baby. We're fine. It's just grown-up stuff, nothing for you to worry about." "Is it about Mommy?" Daniel's hand stilled. Harper rarely brought up Emily anymore. "Why do you ask that?" Harper shrugged. "You get sad when you think about her. You were sad on the plane. I thought maybe that's why." God, this kid. Too smart, too observant. Daniel crouched beside her chair. "You're right. I do think about Mommy. And yeah, some of this is about her. But I promise you, we're going to be okay. That's the most important thing. You and me. We're going to be okay." Harper looked at him with Emily's serious eyes and nodded. "Okay, Daddy." They ate together, while morning light streamed through the curtains. For a few minutes, it was almost normal. Victoria emerged as they were finishing. She'd taken off her blazer, and Daniel could see the shoulder holster she wore. "My partner's on his way," she said. "Agent Jake Morrison. When he gets here, we need to go through everything. But before that, is there someone who can watch your daughter? This conversation isn't appropriate for a 6-year-old. Daniel hadn't thought that far ahead. His mother was sick. His in-laws in Florida. There's no one. "Daddy, I can go upstairs," Harper offered. "I'll color and be quiet." Victoria considered, then nodded. "Okay. But just upstairs where your dad can see the stairs. Deal?" "Deal." They got her settled in an upstairs bedroom with her coloring book. Daniel stood in the doorway watching. "I'll be right downstairs. You shout if you need me." "I will, Daddy." He went back downstairs. Victoria was at the dining table, laptop open. Daniel set his bag down and pulled out the thumb drive. Such a small thing. Impossible to believe it contained evidence of murder and conspiracy. "Before we plug that in," Victoria said, "tell me everything David said. Every detail." Daniel walked her through it all. David at the airport, pale and shaking. The cryptic instructions. The flight. David's phone call during landing. The message about Emily being murdered, about weapons sales and corporate cover-ups. The lawyer's name, Robert Fisher. Victoria listened, taking notes. When he finished, she was quiet, troubled. "What?" Daniel asked. "David called you after we found his body. The time of death was approximately 4:30 this morning. You said he called at 6:15. Daniel felt cold. "That's not possible. I talked to him. I heard his voice. I believe you. Which means either our medical examiner got the time wrong, unlikely, or someone used David's phone to call you after he was already dead. Why would they do that? To see what you'd do, to see if you'd mention the drive or the lawyer." Victoria leaned forward. "Mr. Reed, whoever killed David knows he gave you something. That call wasn't from David. It was from them." The room felt too small. Daniel thought about that call, David's voice rough and strained. Had it really been him? Or had Daniel just heard what he expected? "The message from Emily's email," he said. "The password. That couldn't have been real either." "What message?" Daniel showed her the forwarded email. Victoria's eyes widened. "This is an encryption key, a long one. Whatever it unlocks is heavily protected." She copied it into her notes. "We'll figure out what it goes to. But you're right. It couldn't have been from your wife. Someone's using her email to communicate with you. Someone who wants me to find something Emily hid." Or someone who wants you to think that, so you'll lead them to it. Victoria's expression was grim. Daniel, you need to understand what you're in the middle of. If David was right, if your wife really was killed for what she knew, then the people responsible have enormous resources. They've maintained a cover-up for 2 years. They've infiltrated law enforcement, probably government agencies. And now they know you have evidence that could expose them. So what do? You let me and my partner handle it. You tell us everything. You give us the drive, and you let us build a case. Daniel looked at the thumb drive. Everything David had died for. Everything Emily might have died for. 2 years of questions and grief compressed into 2 inches of metal. And if I do that, how do I know you'll actually do anything with it? How do I know you're not part of the cover-up? Victoria met his eyes, anger flashing. Because I joined the FBI to stop people like whoever killed your wife. Because I've spent 3 months investigating David's claims, following leads, digging into your wife's death. Because if I wanted to kill you and take that drive, I had 5 hours on a plane to do it. She had a point. But Daniel remembered David's warning. I want to see what's on it first, he said. I want to know what Emily died for. Victoria didn't argue, just nodded and pulled out a secure laptop. She booted it up, disconnected from the internet, set up security protocols. This machine is air-gapped. Nothing on it can phone home or trigger remote wipes. Whatever's on that drive, we'll see it safely. Daniel handed over the thumb drive. Victoria plugged it in. The computer recognized the device and displayed the contents. 5 folders labeled with dates spanning 3 years, and 1 video file sitting by itself, labeled EmilyFinalMessage.mp4. Daniel's breath caught. Victoria glanced at him, silently asking permission. He nodded. She double-clicked the file. Emily's face filled the screen, and Daniel felt the world drop away. His wife, alive, moving, speaking, like seeing a ghost. She looked tired, shadows under her eyes, hair in the ponytail she wore when working late. The video was dated 2 weeks before her death. Hi, Dan. Her voice broke something in Daniel's chest. If you're watching this, then something's happened to me. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to put you and Harper in danger, but I couldn't let this go. I couldn't pretend I didn't know. She took a breath, steadying herself. I work for Castellan Defense Systems, same as you. About 6 months ago, I was asked to consult on a project. Weapons technology, export contracts. Except it wasn't boring. It was illegal. They were selling advanced weapons tech to countries under arms embargoes, using shell companies and falsified paperwork to hide it. I found the real documentation by accident, and when I reported it, I was told to forget what I'd seen. Emily's expression hardened. I couldn't forget. So I started digging. I found evidence of sales to at least 4 countries, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. And I found something worse, a list of people who discovered the scheme and were dealt with. 3 whistleblowers, all dead or missing. 1 car accident, 1 suicide, 1 just vanished. They made it look like accidents, but the pattern was clear. She leaned toward the camera, eyes intense. I've collected everything. Documentation, financial records, emails, recordings. It's all encrypted and backed up in places they can't reach. The encryption key is something only you would know, Dan. Our first date. The restaurant. The movie. The song playing when I said I loved you. Put it all together, and you'll have the key. Daniel's mind raced. Their first date, the Italian place in North End, the terrible action movie, and later, the way you look tonight on the radio. That was when she'd said she loved him. Emily smiled sadly on screen. I've also left instructions with a lawyer named Robert Fisher. If anything happens to me, he's supposed to contact you. But if they get to him too, you'll need to find him yourself. He has physical copies of everything in a safe deposit box at Boston Federal Bank. The box number is in the encrypted files. She paused, eyes glistening. Dan, I love you. And I love Harper more than anything. I tried to do this safely, tried to protect us while doing the right thing. But if you're watching this, then I failed. So now it's up to you. You don't have to be a hero. You can take Harper and disappear. And I wouldn't blame you. But if you want to finish what I started, if you want to make sure these people face justice, then everything you need is on this drive. Emily wiped her eyes. Tell Harper I love her. Tell her Mommy was trying to help people. And Dan, be careful. These people are dangerous. They've killed before, and they'll kill again. Trust your instincts. Trust the people who prove themselves through actions, not words. And whatever you do, keep Harper safe. The video ended. The screen went black. Daniel sat frozen, tears streaming down his face, his wife's voice still echoing. Victoria gave him a moment, then spoke softly. She was brave, and she was right to be scared. Daniel wiped his eyes. The encryption key. I know what it is. Then we can access the files. See everything she collected. But Daniel was thinking about Emily's words. Trust the people who prove themselves through actions, not words. Victoria had proven herself by sitting next to him for 5 hours without making a move, by bringing him here instead of an FBI office, by letting him see the video first. But she'd also said, whoever was behind this had people everywhere. I need to use the bathroom, he said abruptly. Victoria nodded. Of course. Daniel went upstairs, checked on Harper, still coloring, humming softly, and locked himself in the bathroom. He pulled out his phone and typed the information from Emily's video, combining the details of their first date into an alphanumeric string. It took 3 tries, but eventually he had something that looked like an encryption key. He sent it to himself, then deleted the sent message and cleared his cache. If something happened to him, at least there'd be a record. Then he splashed water on his face and looked at himself in the mirror. Emily had died for this. David had died for this. If Daniel didn't see it through, they'd died for nothing. He went back downstairs. Victoria had opened one of the date-labeled folders. Spreadsheets and documents filled the screen. Financial records, export forms, emails with portions highlighted. Evidence, just like Emily had promised. This is incredible, Victoria said. If even half is authentic, it's enough to bring down the entire executive team at Castellan, maybe more. She looked up. Do you have the encryption key? Daniel took a breath, decided. Yeah, I have it. He typed it in, character by character. The screen flickered, processed. And suddenly all 5 folders were accessible. Thousands of files, meticulously organized. Emily's final gift, bought with her life. We need to copy all of this, Victoria said. Multiple backups, distributed to different secure locations. And we need to contact Robert Fisher, make sure he's still alive and his copies are safe. And then what? Then we build an airtight case. We bring in my director, coordinate with justice, make arrests that'll stand up in court. No mistakes, no leaks. She looked at him seriously. Daniel, this will take time. Weeks, maybe months. During that time, you and Harper will need protection. We'll set you up with new identities, relocate you someplace safe until arrests are made. Witness protection, a new name, a new life. But at least they'd be alive. Okay, Daniel said. What do I need to do? Before Victoria could answer, her phone rang. She frowned and answered. Morrison, what's... Her expression changed. When? How many? She listened, her face going pale, then hung up and grabbed Daniel's arm. We need to leave. Now. What's happening? Corporate security just raided the FBI office where my partner was working. They had warrants, federal warrants. Claiming jurisdiction over classified materials. They're looking for you, Daniel, and they're coming here. How do they know about this place? I don't know, but we're out of time. Grab your daughter. We leave in 60 seconds. Daniel ran for the stairs, heart hammering. He burst into the bedroom and scooped up Harper, ignoring her surprised yelp. We have to go, baby, right now. But Daddy, no questions. Trust me. He ran back downstairs. Victoria had grabbed the laptop with Emily's files and was at the front door, peering out. There's a car pulling up. Black SUV. We go out the back. They ran through the kitchen to the back door, out into a small yard, over a low fence, into the neighbor's property. Behind them, Daniel heard car doors slamming, raised voices. Victoria led them to a gate that opened to an alley. Her car was parked at the curb. She must have moved it earlier, planning for this. They piled in, and Victoria pulled away with controlled speed. Not fast enough to attract attention, but fast enough to put distance between them and the house. Where are we going? Daniel asked. Harper clutched in his lap. Someplace off the grid. Victoria's knuckles were white on the wheel. Daniel, I'm going to be honest. I don't know who to trust in my own agency anymore. If they had federal warrants, that means they've got people in justice, maybe in the FBI itself. We can't go to my director. We can't go to local police. We're on our own. So what's the plan? Victoria was quiet then. We find Robert Fisher. We get his copies. We combine it with what's on Emily's drive, and we go public. Leak it to every news outlet, every journalist, every watchdog organization. Make it too big to bury. That's your official FBI plan? Leak classified evidence? My official plan got compromised the moment those warrants appeared. Right now, I'm just trying to keep 2 civilians alive and expose a murder conspiracy. She glanced at him in the mirror. You still trust me? Daniel looked at Harper in his arms. He thought about Emily's words. Trust the people who prove themselves through actions. Victoria had just thrown away her career to get them out. Yeah, he said. I trust you. Good. Because this is going to get worse before it gets better. They drove through Boston's morning traffic. 3 fugitives carrying evidence that could topple an empire, with no one to trust but each other. Robert Fisher's law office was in a narrow building in the financial district. Victoria parked 2 blocks away, and they walked the rest, Harper between them, trying to look like a normal family. But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on his back, couldn't stop scanning for black SUVs. The office was modest, a small waiting room with outdated magazines, and a receptionist who looked up with professional disinterest. Do you have an appointment? No, Victoria said, but it's urgent. Tell Mr. Rank, Fisher, that we're here about Emily Reed. The receptionist's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, maybe. One moment. She disappeared, and Daniel heard low voices. When she returned, an older man was with her, late 60s, silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses. He looked at Daniel with sharp eyes. Mr. Reed, I'm Robert Fisher. Please, come in. His office was lined with law books and file cabinets, desk buried under organized chaos. Fisher closed the door and gestured to chairs. I've been expecting you, though I thought you'd come 2 years ago. You knew Emily, Daniel said. She hired me 6 months before her death, gave me very specific instructions. Fisher sat behind his desk. I was supposed to contact you immediately after her death, but when I tried, I was told by someone claiming to be FBI that the matter was classified, and I was to say nothing. I've been waiting ever since, hoping you'd figure it out. Someone claiming to be FBI? Victoria's voice was sharp. Yes, they showed credentials, but something felt wrong. I'm an attorney, Agent Hayes. I know when someone's trying to intimidate me. He looked at Daniel. Emily said you'd come when you were ready. Said you'd bring proof that what happened to her wasn't an accident. Do you have it? Daniel glanced at Victoria, who nodded. He pulled out the external drive they'd copied Emily's files to. Everything's on here. Financial records, emails, recordings. Evidence of illegal weapons sales and corporate murder. Fisher took the drive carefully, like it was precious and dangerous. He plugged it into his computer. Spent several minutes reviewing files, his expression darkening. Finally, he looked up. This is what she died protecting. What David Thompson died protecting. And what a lot of very powerful people want buried. He studied the files more. This is actionable. With this, we could bring criminal charges against at least a dozen Castellan executives, plus whoever in government helped facilitate the sales. But, Daniel heard it coming. But it's also incredibly dangerous. The moment we go public, you'll become a target. You and your daughter. They'll claim you're corporate spies, that the evidence is fabricated. Whatever narrative makes you disappear into a legal black hole. Fisher looked at Harper, sitting quietly, and his expression softened. Mr. Reed, I have to ask, is this really what you want? To put your daughter through this? Daniel thought about the last 2 years. The nightmares, the suspicion, the certainty that something was wrong. He thought about Emily working late, compiling evidence while knowing it might get her killed. About David, desperate to finish what Emily started. And Harper, growing up in a world where powerful people could murder with impunity. Emily died trying to do the right thing, he said quietly. David died for it. If I walk away now, it's like saying their lives didn't matter. So yeah, this is what I want. Fisher nodded slowly. Then here's what we do. I have physical copies of everything Emily gave me in a safe deposit box. We combine that with what's on this drive, we organize it for journalists, and we leak it simultaneously to multiple news organizations. The Times, the Post, the networks, international outlets. Make it too widespread to suppress. How long will that take? Victoria asked. If we work through the weekend? Maybe 3 days. We might not have 3 days. They found the safe house. Then we work faster. Fisher stood. There's an apartment above this office. Empty, secure. No one knows about it except me. You can stay there while we prepare. I'll handle the legal exposure. You two focus on staying alive. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was better than running aimlessly. Daniel looked at Harper. Baby, we're going to stay here for a little while. Is that okay? Are the bad people going to find us? God, she understood more than he'd hoped. We're going to make sure they don't. Mr. Fisher is going to help us. Harper studied the lawyer with that serious expression, then nodded. Okay. Daddy. Fisher led them upstairs to a small apartment clearly used for storage. Boxes stacked along walls, furniture covered in dust sheets. But there was a kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom with a door that locked. I'll bring up food, Fisher said, and I'll start organizing the documents. Agent Hayes, if you could help identify which files will be most impactful, that would help. Victoria nodded. We should also reach out to my partner. No, Daniel said. Both looked at him. No contact with anyone in law enforcement. Fisher, you said someone claiming to be FBI told you to keep quiet. What if they were real FBI? What if the corruption goes that high? Then we're all in more trouble than I thought, Victoria said quietly. Exactly. So no reaching out, no phone calls. We finish the package, we release it, then we see who comes out. Daniel was surprised by how firm his voice sounded. Fisher considered, then nodded. All right. Radio silence until we're ready. But that means if they find us, we're on our own. We've been on our own since this started, Daniel said. They spent Friday through Sunday locked in Fisher's office and apartment, organizing years of evidence into something coherent. Fisher proved as meticulous as Emily had been, cross-referencing documents, building timelines, creating a narrative impossible to refute. Victoria contributed her investigative expertise, identifying which executives had direct knowledge, which officials provided cover, which institutions processed illegal payments. Harper adapted with childhood resilience. She colored, napped, asked questions Daniel deflected. Once she looked up and said, "Mommy would be proud of you, Daddy." Daniel had to turn away so she wouldn't see him cry. By Sunday afternoon, they had it. A comprehensive document package running over 300 pages, every claim backed by evidence. Financial records showing hundreds of millions in illegal sales. Emails discussing the cover-up. Recordings of executives ordering the elimination of whistleblowers. And the crown jewel, Emily's personal testimony, laying out everything she'd discovered. "This is it," Fisher said, looking at the final package. "This brings them down, all of them." "Then let's send it," Victoria said. Fisher had prepared a list of journalists and news organizations, all vetted for integrity and courage. He'd created anonymous email accounts impossible to trace. At 7 p.m. Sunday, exactly 60 hours after they'd fled the safe house, Robert Fisher pressed send. The files went out to 20 different recipients: major newspapers, television networks, international outlets, investigative journalists. Within minutes, responses started coming back. Questions, confirmation requests, promises to investigate immediately. "It's out," Fisher said. "No taking it back now." Daniel felt something loosen in his chest. Relief, maybe. Exhaustion. They'd done it. Emily's evidence was public. Whatever happened now, the truth was out there. Victoria's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, frowned. "It's my director." "Don't answer," Daniel said. She looked at him, then at the phone. "Let it go to voicemail." 30 seconds later, it rang again. "He knows something," Victoria said. Against his instincts, Daniel nodded. Victoria answered. "Put it on speaker." "Hayes." Her director's voice was tight, controlled anger. "Where the hell are you? What are you doing with Daniel Reed?" "Keeping him alive, sir, and exposing a conspiracy that got Emily Reed and David Thompson killed. You leaked classified evidence to the press. I leaked evidence of murder and illegal arms sales. There's a difference." A long pause. "Hayes, you need to come in. Bring Reed. We'll put you both in protective custody until we sort this out." "With respect, sir, I don't think that's a good idea. Someone with federal authority has been hunting us. Someone with FBI resources. I don't know who I can trust." Another pause, longer. When the director spoke again, his voice was different. Tired. "You're right. We have a leak. We've suspected it for months. Couldn't identify the source. That's why I put you on the Thompson case. You were outside the normal chain, less likely to be compromised. So there really is corruption in the Bureau. In the Bureau, in Justice, in DOD. These weapons sales touched a lot of agencies. A lot of people had reason to keep them quiet. But you just made that impossible. Every news organization in the country is calling. This is going to explode tomorrow, and heads are going to roll." Victoria glanced at Daniel, vindication in her eyes. Then, "We did the right thing." "Maybe. Or maybe you just painted a target on your back that won't go away. These people have resources, Hayes. You and Mr. Reed need protection. Real protection. What are you suggesting?" "Come in. Both of you. I'll personally oversee your security. No one else will know where you are." "You have my word." Daniel shook his head sharply, but Victoria was considering it. "We need guarantees," she said. "Written guarantees of immunity for Mr. Reed. He's not part of this conspiracy. He's a victim. And his daughter needs protection, too. Done. Whatever you need, just come in." Victoria looked at Daniel, asking without words. He thought about Harper, exhausted and frightened, living in hiding for 3 days. Thought about Emily's voice, telling him to keep their daughter safe. Thought about finishing this the right way. "Okay," he said, "but we come in our way, on our terms. You send 2 agents we both recognize. They meet us in a public place, someplace with witnesses." The director agreed. They arranged a meet for Monday morning, 8 a.m. Boston Common. 2 agents Daniel and Victoria knew. No one else. Full view of morning joggers and dog walkers. When Victoria hung up, Fisher looked troubled. "You're sure?" "No," Daniel admitted. "But I'm sure we can't keep running. And Harper deserves better than hiding." They spent one more night in Fisher's apartment. Daniel lay awake, Harper sleeping beside him, trying to convince himself they'd made the right choice. Tomorrow morning, this would either end with safety and justice, or very badly. But at least it would end. At 7:30 Monday morning, they left for Boston Common. The city was waking. Commuters, students, the normal rhythm of urban life. The news was already breaking. Headlines screaming about leaked documents and corporate scandal. Daniel saw people on phones, reading articles, faces shocked. Emily's evidence was doing exactly what she'd hoped. The truth was spreading. They reached the Common and found a bench near Frog Pond in full view of dozens of people. 8 a.m. came and went. No agents. 8:15. Still nothing. Victoria's phone rang. The director. She answered, tension clear. "Where are your agents?" "Hayes, listen carefully." The director's voice was strained. "Don't go to the meet, it's a trap. The 2 agents I assigned were pulled off by someone higher up. I don't know who's coming instead." Victoria went pale. "What?" "Get out of there. Now. Go somewhere safe," and the call cut off. Daniel grabbed Harper's hand. "We need to go." They stood, and that's when Daniel saw them. 3 men in suits, moving through the crowd with purpose. Not running, not drawing attention, but definitely closing in. Behind them, more men, blocking exits. "They found us," Victoria said. They ran. Not toward the street, but deeper into the park, where there were more people, more witnesses. The men followed, moving faster. Harper stumbled, and Daniel swept her into his arms, running with his daughter against his chest. A hand grabbed Victoria's arm. She spun, broke the grip with a practiced move, and the man stumbled back. But more were coming. They were surrounded. "Federal agents!" one shouted, pulling out a badge. "Daniel Reed, you're under arrest for theft of classified materials and conspiracy to commit espionage." People around them stopped, staring. Phones came out, filming. Good, Daniel thought. Witnesses. "I'm FBI," Victoria said, showing her badge. "This man is under my protection. By whose authority are you making this arrest?" "Department of Justice, National Security Division." "We have a warrant." The lead agent held up papers. "Not without seeing that warrant," Victoria said, stepping between Daniel and the agents. The agent's expression hardened. "Agent Hayes, you're also wanted for questioning. You can come voluntarily, or we can arrest you too." More people were gathering, a crowd forming. Daniel saw phones everywhere, dozens recording. The agents noticed too, uncomfortable with attention. "Let them see the warrant," someone in the crowd shouted. The lead agent hesitated, then held up the papers. Victoria snatched them, scanned quickly. "This is dated yesterday, before we leaked the evidence. You already had a warrant for his arrest?" "Standard procedure." "You knew we were going to leak," Daniel said, understanding crashing over him. "You knew, and you had this ready. Which means someone told you." The agent's face was stone. "Mr. Reed, you need to come with us. Now." "No," Daniel said. "I'm not going anywhere. This is illegal detention. These people are witnesses. You can't just disappear me." "We're federal agents with a legal warrant. We absolutely can." Victoria stepped forward, her voice carrying to the crowd. "This man is a whistleblower. He has evidence of corporate murder and illegal weapons sales. They're trying to silence him." The crowd stirred, angry murmurs spreading. More phones came up. Someone was streaming this live. Daniel saw it happen, the moment this stopped being a quiet arrest and became a public incident. The lead agent saw it too. His hand moved to his hip. "Everyone back up. This is federal business." "Then act like it," an older woman said. "Show us your identification. All of you. Let us see who you are." The agents looked at each other. In that hesitation, Daniel made his choice. He pulled out his phone, opened the camera, started recording. "My name is Daniel Reed. My wife Emily was murdered 2 years ago because she discovered illegal weapons sales. I have evidence, and these men are trying to arrest me to keep it quiet. If something happens to me, the evidence is already public. Check the news. Check the Boston Globe. It's all there." He was speaking to his phone, but his voice carried. People were nodding, sharing his words, the video already spreading. The lead agent made a decision. He grabbed for Daniel's phone, but Victoria intercepted, catching his wrist. "Don't. There are too many witnesses. This is already going viral. You arrest him now. You're making martyrs." The agent's radio crackled. A voice, urgent. "All units, stand down. Repeat, stand down. Deputy Director's orders. Do not engage." The agent stared at Victoria, then at Daniel, then at the dozens of phones filming them. Finally, he stepped back. "This isn't over, Mr. Reed." "I'm sure it isn't," Daniel said. The agents withdrew, melting back. But they didn't go far. Daniel could see them watching from the edges, waiting. Victoria turned to Daniel. "We can't stay here." "I know." But as they started to leave, the crowd didn't part. Instead, people moved closer. "We'll walk with you," someone said. "They won't try anything with all of us around." And just like that, they had an escort. 30 people, then 50, then more, surrounding Daniel and Victoria and Harper as they walked out of the common. The agents followed at a distance, but they didn't approach. Couldn't. Not with so many witnesses and cameras. They walked through downtown Boston in the morning sun, a growing crowd of strangers who'd decided protecting a whistleblower mattered. It was strange and powerful and unexpected. Daniel had thought they'd be alone. He'd never imagined ordinary people would care enough to intervene. They reached Fisher's office. The lawyer was waiting outside, face pale. "I saw it on the news. The video's everywhere. You're famous, Mr. Reed." "I don't want to be famous. I want to be safe. Right now, famous might be safer than anonymous. They can't make you disappear when the whole world is watching." Fisher gestured inside. "Come, we need to talk about next steps." The crowd dispersed reluctantly, people calling out support. Daniel thanked them, humbled and overwhelmed. Inside Fisher's office, they collapsed into chairs. "What now?" Daniel asked. "Now," Fisher said. "We use the attention. I've been contacted by 5 law firms offering to represent you pro bono. The Globe wants an exclusive interview. And I just heard from a Congressional Oversight Committee. They want you to testify about Castellan and the arms sales." "Will he be safe?" Victoria asked. "Safer than he was this morning. The video you took has 40 million views already. Daniel Reed is a name now, not just a face. That makes him harder to eliminate quietly." Fisher looked at Daniel seriously. "But it also makes you a target forever. You understand that. This doesn't end with arrests or trials. The people you're exposing have long memories." Daniel looked at Harper in his lap. She'd been through so much. Too much for a 6-year-old. But she was also Emily's daughter, brave and stubborn and unwilling to back down from what was right. "Emily didn't get to see justice," Daniel said quietly. "David didn't either. But maybe Harper will. Maybe she'll grow up in a world where people face consequences. That's worth being a target." Victoria's phone rang. She glanced at it, surprised. "It's my director again," she answered. "Sir?" "Hayes, are you somewhere secure?" "Relatively." "Good. Because I have news. 20 minutes ago, the Attorney General announced a special prosecutor to investigate Castellan Defense Systems. They're bringing RICO charges against the entire executive team, and they've issued arrest warrants for 3 DOJ officials and 2 FBI agents suspected of participating in the cover-up. Victoria's eyes widened. "Sir." Are you telling me? I'm telling you it's over. The conspiracy is collapsing. Your leak worked, Hayes. It worked. Daniel felt something crack open in his chest. Relief, grief, vindication, all at once. It was over. Not the danger completely, maybe not ever. But the cover-up was over. The truth was out. Emily and David hadn't died for nothing. What about Mr. Reed? Victoria asked. The warrant against him has been withdrawn. He's free to go home. Though I'd recommend protective custody until we've made all arrests. I'll take my chances, Daniel said, loud enough for the phone to pick up. I want my daughter to have a normal life. The director was quiet. Mr. Reed, I'm sorry for what happened to your wife, and I'm sorry we didn't protect David Thompson. I don't want apologies, Daniel interrupted. I want the people who killed Emily to go to prison. Can you promise me that? With the evidence you've provided? Yes, I can promise you that. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. They stayed at Fisher's office the rest of the day while the news exploded around them. Arrests were made. The CEO of Castellan, 3 executives, a deputy director at DOJ. Each arrest made headlines, another piece of the conspiracy falling apart. By evening, the story had gone international. Protests forming outside Castellan's headquarters, calls for congressional investigations. Daniel watched it all, Harper asleep against his shoulder, and tried to process that it was really over, that he could go home, that his daughter could go back to school and not be afraid. Victoria came upstairs around 9 p.m., exhaustion written in every line of her face. The director's sending a protective detail. They'll escort you home, make sure it's secure, maintain a presence until trials are over. And you? Daniel asked. Internal Affairs wants to talk about unauthorized disclosure, but my director says it's mostly for show. I'll probably face suspension, maybe a formal reprimand, but no criminal charges. That doesn't seem fair. You saved my life. Victoria smiled tiredly. I also violated about 30 different regulations. It's fine. I knew what I was doing. She looked at Harper. She's tough, your daughter. She's her mother's daughter. She's lucky to have you. Daniel didn't feel lucky. He felt hollowed out, exhausted, ancient. But he had Harper, and he had the truth, and he had the knowledge that Emily's death mattered. That counted for something. The protective detail arrived at 10, 2 professional agents who secured the building and checked Daniel's car before escorting them home. The ride through Boston felt surreal. 3 days ago, he'd been running for his life through these streets. Now he was going home while the world rearranged itself around the evidence Emily had died collecting. Their house looked exactly the same. Lights off, lawn needing mowing, Harper's bike on the front porch. Normal. Ordinary. The life Daniel had been trying to protect all along. He carried Harper inside, put her to bed in her own room for the first time in days, and stood in the doorway watching her sleep. She looked peaceful. Safe. Tomorrow, she'd wake up and ask to work on her tree costume, because that's what mattered to a 6-year-old. Not conspiracies or investigations, but school plays and leaves that needed to be sown. Daniel went downstairs and found the box he'd put away 2 years ago, unable to look at after Emily died. Her things, a few books, some jewelry, papers from her office. He sat on the floor and went through them slowly, looking for pieces of the woman who'd been brave enough to stand against corporate corruption and smart enough to leave behind the evidence that would finish what she started. At the bottom, he found a photo. Their wedding day, Emily in her white dress, laughing at something someone had said. She looked young and happy and alive. Daniel traced the edge of the photo with his finger. "We did it," he whispered. "Harper and me. We finished it. They're going to pay for what they did to you." The house was quiet around him. Outside, one of the protective detail walked past the window, keeping watch. Tomorrow would bring interviews and statements, and testimony preparation. But tonight, Daniel just sat with his wife's photo and let himself grieve properly for the first time in 2 years. He'd been surviving since Emily died, moving through the motions without really living. But now, finally, he could start to heal. Not because the people who killed her were arrested, though that mattered, but because he'd honored her memory by finishing what she started. Because he'd shown Harper that doing the right thing mattered, even when it was hard. Because Emily's last gift to them, the truth, had turned out to be enough. Daniel put the photo on the mantel, where he could see it every day. Then he went upstairs, checked on Harper one more time, and fell into his own bed. The sleep that claimed him was deep and dreamless, the first real rest he'd had in years. Outside, the protective detail kept watch. In newsrooms across the country, journalists worked through the night. In federal buildings, prosecutors built cases against powerful men who'd thought themselves untouchable. And somewhere in the digital cloud, Emily Reed's final testimony waited for the trial that would make her a posthumous hero. The story wasn't over. It would take months, maybe years, for all the trials to be completed. But the hard part, the dangerous part, was done. The truth was out. And Daniel Reed, single father and accidental whistleblower, could finally go back to being what he'd wanted all along. Just a dad trying to raise his daughter right. In her room, Harper slept peacefully, dreaming of autumn leaves and school plays and all the ordinary magic of childhood. And that, Daniel thought, as sleep finally claimed him too, was worth everything.